Sit down. I gotta start wearing shorts. I gotta stop wearing shorts for these. I mean, okay. Well, I'm back again with another album review. This time, much less of a gap in between, and I'm gonna try and make this shorter. Last time the video went for 30 minutes again, so obviously I can yap. I didn't know I could yap that much. I kind of did, but anyway, we're getting distracted. Okay, today's album, Enema of the State by Blink-182. Some may consider the pop punk album. And sort of kind of set the trend for the 2000s, basically, of the standard of pop punk, I think. This combined with maybe something like, maybe even more so than something like Green Day's American Idiot, although some could argue maybe Green Day's American Idiot set a bit more of an emo standard, but emo also in this album. But, you know, worry about that later. For now, the 1999 Blink-182 dropped this album. And I think everyone's at least heard one song from this album, so, which, you know, obviously the very famous All the Small Things. Very famous track. This is a very famous album from Mark Hoppus, Tom DeLonge, and Travis Barker on the drums. So, this is the right way up, yep. So, what to say about this album? This let's just start with what I've written. This album is fun. The songs are fun. They have teen whimsy mixed with, you know, 20s angst, teen angst. You know, sort of blurring the lines between what is it to be a young person, what does it mean to be a child, what is it when you're an adult who feels maybe childish at times or immature. You know, this album revolves a lot around heartbreak, dating, sex, love, all the things that, you know, as you're getting older, you start to experience and come to terms with. You know, the pull between, you know, wanting to feel like you're still in your youth and you're still, you know, young, and I know you still are young, you know, but you know, very compared to young, like a kid young, versus, you know, becoming a mature adult young, versus, you know, relationships with, you know, people you meet and friends and dating. All of that, I think this album wraps up really nicely. Maybe a bit too ad nauseum to some people's taste, but, you know, I don't know. Being a nearly 22-year-old something nothing, you know, I can definitely relate to a lot going on in this album. You know, maybe, which is kind of ironic, maybe when people listen to this album, they think of their teenage years, and it's like, I can see why, as a teen, this would be the album for you, but them talking about connecting to teen and childish things in their older years of their 20s, it's like, that's where I am personally, you know, as a person who's like, oh, what am I doing with my life? You know, why do I feel this way about, you know, girls, and why am I so immature about it, and why can't I just be more mature about it? Or, you know, I don't want to, you know, who cares? Fuck it, you know, I'm young, I want to be young. You know, this album hits all those notes perfectly. So I think maybe, you know, if there's a person out there who kind of feels like, you know, you're not as mature as you should be, or, you know, you're not always feeling great, or your reaction to things aren't always as appropriate as you'd want them to be for your age, I think this album is all about that. This album itself, just looking at the track list, is full of bangers. I think you could take from the start of the top track of Dumpweed, pretty much all the way down to the 8th track, Dysentery Garage, All the Small Things, all, you could ask, pop punk classics. Some of the greatest pop punks, just banger after banger. And then really in the middle of the album, such as What's My Age Again, Adam's Song, All the Small Things. Basically right next to each other. And who can forget, Adam's Song is like the proto-emo sort of pop punk song that set the standard for the scene that was about to explode into the 2000s. I think many people can relate to Adam's Song and his edginess, be it, you know, not a literal song, more of a song based on metaphor to provoke and evoke imagery within a person. Not, you know, it's not a story based on real life, but it comes from a real place of Mark Hoppus dealing with his depression, I guess, or his feelings of coming off the tour and being alone. And I think everyone can I think underneath the snarkiness and the jokes and the fun of this album, there is this album does speak to a fear of being alone. What does it mean to be rejected? What does it mean to be, you know, having to move out and be by yourself, friends leaving? This album really, at the end of the day, is an album about what does it mean getting older and learning to come to terms with being alone in all different sorts of ways. So I think for that, I can right now really sort of latch onto those themes of the album, and in a way, hearing that even people who are, you know, out there touring and famous rock stars still at the end of the day come home and find themselves feeling and being alone, and having that need and craving to, you want to have someone in your life who fills that void and sort of, you know, kind of makes you feel like, you know, you're not so alone as much, or that you have someone that's looking out for you and thinking of you, because, you know, it's just, I guess that's all we want to do, is to be alive in the minds of other people a little bit, you know. To know that someone out there is thinking of you, you know, going from something like Adam's song into All the Small Things, I think having someone in your corner who's thinking of you and hoping and looking forward to you is something that you can, or you want some days. So I think for the track listings, you know, it's a great lineup. Obviously some fun songs, like I find, you know, Aliens Exist is a hilarious song. I think about sort of, you really holding on to this childish, this obsession that Tom has of, you know, aliens existing, that since he has a kid, and, you know, becoming an adult and still having that feeling, and, you know, he would later to go on and prove that aliens did actually exist in the end. So that's one example. And I think maybe, you know, it's a bit of a, you know, you could say problematic, but, you know, this album touches, I think, on men's, how when they're young, how you deal with rejection from women, and maybe the feelings that you have. And they're not always great, and they're not always, you know, kind. But, you know, this is not making a judgment on whether those are good or bad. Just this album is like, this is the feelings that people have. This is what happens. Like, it's sort of a reflection to that. And maybe you can listen to that and, you know, revel in it a bit. And maybe it's not the greatest thing. Or you can hear and like, someone else has said it. I know it's I can acknowledge these emotions now as being real and having existed, without maybe, you know, engaging in them too much to a negative and self-destructive extent to you and to others. So I personally like that, you know. If I'm having an issue with someone, or a, you know, a girl or something like that, or even my parents, you know, and you just want to be a bit, you know, a bit angry, a bit silly with it. You don't want to have to always be this mature adult sort of clicked on, you know, being therapeutic to yourself. You can, sometimes I find putting on an album like this, music is just feeling through those emotions first, letting them exist, saying, hey, these are real, these exist. It's okay to feel them. It's then what we do on afterwards to act on that, and maybe feeling acknowledged and seen by something like this album might be able to help someone who wants to do that. Talking a bit more about this album, just sonically speaking, obviously, Travis Barker on the drums is always a standout on pretty much any Blink album he is on. He always gives you 110%. I don't think I've ever seen a time where Travis Barker isn't giving it his all drumming, and I think really established him, this album and the next following consecutive albums really established him as like the drummer of his genre. I don't think in pop punk anyone could touch Travis Barker in terms of his drumming. Also, the Tom's and Mark's writing on it, always great. I think Blink 182 songs are really nursery rhyme punk songs. You take a nursery rhyme, take something catchy, you find the best part of it, make that the song, make it repeatable, make it rememberable, make it catchy, and make it fun to play. If anyone wants to get into guitar, I think Blink is one of the easiest and rewarding and fun artists that you could possibly learn as you get into any sort of guitar work. Just something about Tom's writing, he's able to, I've seen it before, say that he's able to write these really catchy, simple songs that really get in your ear. And, you know, some people might want something a bit more complex, and I understand that, but sometimes you just want, you know, a fucking really good, you know, peanut butter sandwich. You want a peanut butter sandwich and honey, or something like that, you know, this is it, you know, you come here, it's good, it's sweet, it's, you know, it's got that bit of savouriness, it's got exactly what you need. If you want something a bit more complicated, completely get that. But just for simplicity's sake, sometimes you don't need anything more than that, really. Obviously, Mark and Tom's vocals on this are great too. The abilities for them to harmonize on the tracks, harmonize with the tracks themselves of what's being played. You know, the production. I can't remember who produced this album. Let's see if it says on the record. Geffen. Jerry Finn. Mixed by Jerry Finn. I have seen some videos about him before. I don't know him. I'm not too familiar with his production, but I do know in this album an excellent job. In my mind, I see this as like the Nevermind of pop punk albums. You know, yes, you could argue that some of their later albums are better than this, but I think personally, I don't think anything is better than this for what this is going for in terms of production, sound, lyrics, instrumentation. This is the standard, and you can branch off into a bit more emo, a bit more into the rock, or into a bit more just classic punk. But for a pop punk album, this is the album for me. So, you know, if any of that sounds like it might interest you, I cannot urge you enough to listen to this. Even just listen to this for the hits. Get halfway, skip maybe the first 2 tracks. Start off track 3, Aliens Exist. Listen to All the Small Things, track 8. You can stop there if you want. But I swear, you will find something out of those that you like. I guarantee it 100%. So, that's a review. Hopefully this one is shorter. Got my point across clearly enough without rambling on. Blink 182, Enema of the State. Give it a listen, give it a try. Again, you'll be singing it all day. Thanks for watching or listening, or I don't know if anyone is watching. Do I have a channel name? Trace D? That's Trace D Reviews. I might change that. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.